Hey everyone, welcome to my art tutorial. I'm going to be using Clip Studio Paint. All of the video is going to be in Clip Studio Paint. Currently using a drawing tablet. It's a Huey on Canvas Pro 13 Pro, one of those. First up, you want to create a new file. I have a pre-built setting where it's 3000 by 3000 pixels, 300 resolution. That's quite a good setting. So when I start drawing, I like to use this textured line art brush. It's in Clip Studio, it's called the Textured G Pen. With the pen pressure, I set it to these 2 points down here. And with the opacity, I just put it on pen pressure. So when I like to begin the sketch, I think when I found it, it was called like the potato sack method, where when you're drawing the body, you sort of imagine it like a potato sack. So that's sort of like a very, very rough body, but it helps just getting something onto the page. And with drawing like limbs, like arms or legs, the way I like to do it is I draw a line of whereabouts I think the elbow is, and then make a little circle so I know the elbow's there, and then you sort of beef it out. Okay, and every now and then when you're sketching, I like to flip the canvas. I've got it currently bound to Control F. But you'll have to do that yourself. If you go to shortcut settings and then find view, and then you go flip horizontal and just bind this to something easy to hit. Okay, and when drawing hands, you want to use a lot of construction shapes, is what I think they're called. So I kind of want this character to be like holding like a soda can, so her hand's going to be in like a gripping motion. And then because they're slightly gripping, you won't see all like the three finger joints, so you'd only see the two. So that is like a rough hand shape. Alright, now I'm sort of on the head portion of the character, and the head's very difficult to draw. You have to use a lot of construction shapes. Just, if anything's difficult, shapes all the time. I'll start by drawing the general like jaw shape, just like rough that out quite a bit, and then I'll do the classic drawing a big circle. So now I want to put a line down the like middle, so this will be where the nose and the middle of the head will be. Put another line here where about the ears should lie. So I'll put a line about down here. This will be where the nose is kind of laying, and you put another line above that. This is the bottom of the eyes, and put another line up here, and this will be the top of the eyes. So now we've got all these lines out. Very good. We want to draw the sort of curve of the face. So the curve would start up about here, where you'd find your eyebrows, and it would go do a slight curve to where the nose is, and then it would do a bigger more drastic curve. And then you draw the ears, or ear in this case, about where the nose starts and where the eyes end. And then the head sort of ends not further than the ear, but a bit further than the center point of the ear. So how I start with the eyes, I sort of draw a circle in the middle. You kind of draw 3 circles. So one circle here, that's the left eye. One circle here, that's the right eye. And then one circle in the middle. And they're all sort of the same size. Next up, you want to work on the eyes at the same time together. So when you do one bit of work on the right eye, you go back to the left eye. So this is the very top bit of the nose, and then I'm going to go to the bottom of the nose. And when I'm doing an angled nose, I like to just get a point down here and then do a sort of a curve horizontally, so like that. So now I'm going to draw like the eyelash. Start here and then go up a little bit, and then do a nice sweeping curve. Then bring that back down to about the middle of the eye, and then just do the same on the other side. Okay, now we're going to get to drawing the sort of iris pupil stuff. So when drawing this, I like to just kind of draw a circle at the topper point. So the circle, it ends here. Instead of just doing like a U, I think a circle looks better because it looks more even. Something I've learned is when drawing a mouth, if you want to draw like say like a happy or a neutral, like, you know, kind of pleasant neutral face, you do a sad face and then you add the little corners of the mouth. So with drawing the hair, you want to draw it in kind of sections. I don't really like drawing the fringe first because it's harder to draw the stuff behind. When drawing hair, you never want to do like a full line like that because it generally doesn't look good. If you do like a bit of the line, then stop here and then continue it here, I just find it looks a lot better, it looks nicer. So that's like the base of the hair. I'm going to go ahead and lower the opacity slightly and then make a new layer so I can draw the fringe, because the fringe is going to be over the top a lot of it and it might get confusing. So we want to find where the middle is, and you sort of make an M shape. You go down like this, you come back here. Again, similar to the way I drew the eyes, flipping the canvas is good, and working on either side to kind of get an equal feel to it is a good shout. Okay, that's the sketch all done. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to lower the opacity, create a new vector layer, call that one Lineart, and then I'm going to switch over to my Lineart Pen. So this pen I actually got from the Clip Studio assets, this little thing here. If you go to details, set it to brush and free, and then set it to popular, this is a pen I use. And then I did some additional tuning to it, and I set the pen pressure to these little points here. One thing I forgot to mention with the vector layer line art thing. So the reason I do a vector layer is I can draw a line like this, and then I can draw another line like this, and you see they're overlapped. If I go to the eraser and I scroll down to vector eraser and set it to this raise up to intersection, I can just swipe like that and it gets rid of it. With this bit of the line art, I've drawn like a little ring here. Now I could just draw like two circles really close to each other, but that's quite difficult. So what I'm going to do instead, I'm going to lower the opacity, make a new layer. So the pen that I've been using for the line art doesn't work for this, so I'm going to have to use a different pen. I'm actually going to use this pen I call Animation Lines. It's just a pen with very little pen pressure. And then I'm going to set it to white, set the size to like about half of what you were working with, and then go down to layer properties, click on border effect, set this to a black, and then you want to set this to about half of what your lines were. And now draw a circle and it will be outlined. There you go. So that's the circle I'm happy with. Go make the line art a bit thicker. So there we go. Next up, I'm going to go to that layer and I'm going to hit rasterize. That just flattens everything down, makes it into a bitmap. Now I'm going to go up to edit and then convert brightness to opacity, and that turns it into line art. So that is all the line art done. Now I need to colour it in. What I've done is I have these like 3 paint buckets, all with different tolerances and closing gaps. So what I have set up as is close gap on 1, tolerance on 75, area scaling on 5, refer to multiple layers on. So with this, I then fill in the entire canvas. I'm going to switch to this fill bucket, which I mainly use for shading, and the tolerance is just set down to 25. So this one's 75, this one's 25. That's all the difference. And you see it does a much better job of filling it all in. There's obviously bits here that you have to fill in manually, but it saves you a ton of time. So I'm actually going to set the skin color to a slightly darker, slightly more saturated color, about there. I like to give a bit of more shade to the skin just to make it look more round and squishy and, you know, better. I don't want it to look flat. So how I do that is I create a new layer and I do clip to layer below. Set that to multiply, and then we want to go and find like a red color about this. And we select airbrush, and what you want to do is just fill it all in. There we go. Okay, now we're going to get the airbrush tool and we're going to airbrush general shapes of the body. Okay, now that we've done all that, we're going to lower the opacity to about an acceptable level. We're going to right click on it, we're going to click selection from layer, create that selection, then we're going to go here, invert the selection, new layer, clip it again, then set this layer to color dodge. Now you want to fill in this selection. You see it's much brighter, so we lower that down just about there, and you kind of play around with the opacities until you get a general feel of it looks nice. Alrighty, now we're going to get onto drawing the eyes. So, first you want to draw the whites of the eyes. After you've drawn the whites, you can do in the little fleshy bit, and then fill in the iris. And now you want to get your shading colors. This is going to be our main shade color. And then we want to go more towards the blue and darker and less saturated. That's our darker shade color. And we want to go more red, more saturated and brighter. And that's the ambient occlusion sort of color. Next you want your lights, so go about orangey. There we go. And then you want your bounce light, so go blue. There we go. So that's our shade palette quickly done. Select your shade color, use the wand tool, select the iris, make a new layer, set that to multiply. Now I have this shading pen, which is the same pen as the Lineart pen, it's just the pen pressure is not as wild. So you do one layer like that, and then you want to get your shade and you go darker, maybe just change up the color a bit. There we go. Then you select even darker, and then you make a big circle, bigger than you think the pupil's going to be. And then you lower the opacity a bit, get a new layer, multiply, set this very, very dark. This is going to be your pupil, and draw that in the middle, so it doesn't go over, it's just in the middle. Okay, so that's like that. Now we want to select our light color, and we go to the very top, set this to add glow, and then you want to draw in the middle of the pupil, but so it doesn't go overboard, just like what you did with your pupil. And then you play with the opacity a little bit. Okay, so now you want to select your first shade color and then your dark shade color. Make a new layer, set that to a multiply. And now you want to shade it. Alright, so I'm happy with the shading there. What I'm going to do now is switch to my darker shading color, and I'm just going to shade the very darkest bit. Okay, now that I've done the dark shade, I'm going to select the reddish shade, and I'm going to set this shade layer to lock transparent pixels. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go around the very edge of the shade with this red. Next up, I'm going to get a new layer, get the light color, set the layer to overlay, and then you want to get a really big airbrush and just airbrush in where the light is coming from. Next, you want to make a new layer, hard light, clip it. This will be your highlights. So get my shade pen, and then I want to just kind of draw in the brightest bits. Okay, now I'm going to make a new layer, just the same settings as the old one, highlight, clipping, but this is going to be the bounce light layer. So we're going to select this blue light, and basically you want to put this light where you'd picture the light bouncing back up and hitting. Now that that's all done, I'm going to be colouring in the line art. So I set a new layer onto clipping above the line art. What I like to do first is kind of do a base colour. So if I select the dark bit here, make it a bit darker, and then just fill in everything like that. There we go. Okay, next up, I'm going to go a layer above that, and I'm going to start drawing in more of the line art. Okay, now that the line art is all shaded, we have to make the shirt look more transparent. So to do that, we got to do a few things. We're gonna copy and paste that line art. So we've got two line arts. Then I'm gonna copy and paste the very base color, and we're gonna put it above everything. Now I'm going to erase all the parts that aren't the shirt material. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to go to all the shading, the overlay, the lights, all that stuff. I'm going to copy and paste that onto the shirt. Next, I'm going to merge it. I'm going to erase bits of the shirt that would have the most tensions. Okay, now the shirt is slightly see-through, I'm going to turn on the line art again, and I'm going to hit select on the shirt, selection from layer, create selection, and I'm going to flip it. Go to the line art, and then delete. Okay, now that I've done that, I'm noticing that, say, the outlines here, they're looking a bit worse for wear. So what I'm going to do about that is I'm going to go back to this line art layer down here, I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to paste it above everything else. Now, I'm going to erase all the middle bits, but leaving the very outer bits. So the final thing we can do is go up to the hair, create a new layer, call it hair. Then you want to get your line art pen and select a point, say about here, and go from that point and just make a little hair strand. And that is how I draw digital art. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you learned something from this video. If you like the art, why not check out my Twitch, Twitter or Instagram or any social medias, links in description, as well as checking out my Patreon. Got many tiers. I've also got an extended cut of this video on my Patreon, so if you want to see that, go check it out.